Okay, today we're going to start building our asteroid game. And so you need to start up a new Scratch project, so you can do file, new, something like that, and we'll get to a page like this. Start off just by naming it asteroid, that's what we're going to call it, and then let's get going. I'm going to try to move quickly through this. We're going to delete the cat so that we're not here all day, and you can pause this when you get stuck. It probably won't go that quick though, let's be real. Okay, we're going to start off by getting our rocket. So I'm looking at rocket ship because this probably looks the best for our purposes. And so we're going to start off today. My goal is to get us to program the rocket ship. What are some things that we can do with the rocket ship? Well, let's look at its costumes. Um, there's it firing, and we're going to use this. I actually might want to delete this little bit here. So I'm going to get my eraser, so erase that, because if that would get touched by an asteroid, then this whole rocket ship would die, but that's not really part of it. So I'm just going to delete that. The other ones I'm not too concerned about. This is it spinning around. We don't have to use this very much. And here is the rocket ship with no thrusters. And so this is actually going to be my main one, and this is just when we're moving it, okay? So let's see what we can do. Let's go to its code, and let's get going. I'm going to treat, no, let's do this. I like doing this the best. Flag is clicked should start the game. And so when flag is clicked, I'm just going to broadcast start game. It doesn't seem like much right now. Start game. So that broadcast was under events. I'm going to broadcast start game. It doesn't seem like much now, but that way we can add an intro and it's not going to mess up our whole game. It's not going to be a lot of work later. We add the intro in before we broadcast start game, and that way it's pretty simple. Simple to do that. And so when I receive start game, what do I want my rocket ship to do? Okay, I want the rocket ship to, right now this is way too big. And so one option people have tried is going to costumes and shrinking it, right? This is a scary idea. It's more difficult. You got to shrink all the costumes. So this is a much more simple way is to go set size. When you receive start game, let's set the size to maybe 20%. So I just click and test. That's pretty small. Let's try 30%. That's a bit big. Let's go 25. Boom. That's exactly the size that I want it. Okay. And I generally want this thing right now is not firing, so I'm going to switch to costume E, the last one. So now I click and boom, that's what I want it to look like. Okay, now where do I want it to go? I don't know, where should we start it? Right in the middle? Yeah, let's start it right in the middle. So let's go 2, 0, 0. That's the middle. There we go. This looks great, except that the background's garbage. So go to backdrops, and what I do is I go here. This is my habit. I know you guys are going to say you could have gone there, Mr. Reimer, and maybe we should. Let's just do it. Okay. Go here. I want to look for sky. No, let's go stars. Stars. There we go. It looks like this. This looks great, just like that. Okay, now let's go back to the rocket ship and program this guy. So we go to his code. That's up here. Okay, so we've got him starting the game. When we click the flag, it starts the game, sets him there. Everything's going to be great. Should we do one more thing? Let's just make sure. I really like making sure. Let's point him in the right direction. Okay. Oh, we know when we start the game, it's going to be all good. Okay. And so this is us starting the game. And after we have started the game, let's get this guy having controls. So our goal for today is to control this, the rocket ship. Here's how I want to do controls. What you can do is you can have a whole bunch of events, like when up is pressed, right? Then we want to move him up, right? So we can point him in the direction and move 10 steps, okay? And now you can try it. And look, it doesn't really work. And it's quite glitchy. It's quite gross, okay? So I'm gonna, oops, that's not what I want to do. I'm gonna get rid of this. That's not how I want to do it. I'm gonna show you a really nice way. Reset. Oh, that looks good. Yeah, I'm gonna show you a really good way to do this. Is not that doing that way works if we do all those different when this key is pressed, when that key is pressed. But what works a lot better is this method of movement. Okay, it's a forever loop. And this forever loop is going to react every frame that something is pressed. So if sensing key is pressed, it's very similar, right? Let's go up arrow. If up arrow is pressed, what do we want to do? While up arrow is pressed, we want to move this guy up. So we're going to change Y by Y is up. Let's just do like 1. Okay. And now let's start the game, and you're going to see it stays highlighted because now it's trapped in this forever loop. So let's press the up arrow. As we hold the up arrow, it changes. That's fantastic, right? This is great. And so wherever it is, if we're pressing the up arrow, it moves up. Okay. And so in order to make this guy move all directions, we have to have 4 if statements, right? So we can duplicate this, put it there, duplicate this, put it there. Now we've got 4. Okay. Well, we got to change this. This needs to be down arrow, and then we change Y by -1. And we need a right arrow and a left arrow. Oops. Left arrow. But then for those, we're not changing Y, we're changing X. So we've got to go to motion. We've got to change X by, now obviously we saw 1 was not good, so let's do 5 -5. We go right, we go +5, and we're going to change, make sure you're doing change X, -5, and we drag this. And now, when we start the game, this is forever checking, are we pressing up? We go up. Are we pressing down? Going down. Right, sorry, left, right. Now if you do both of them, you go at an angle. Okay, so this is just fantastic. It's a bit messy, but it's pretty good. Okay, now what's not perfect about this is when you stop pressing, it stops moving. What if we wanted this guy to have a constant speed? Okay. uh, Here's what we'll do. Just gotta think a little bit. Okay, so we got him moving. When we click the flag, we get him moving all these directions. That's very good. What we're going to do now is we want him to, the problem is, right, what I was saying was the problem was that he doesn't keep moving. So we're going to have to switch this up. The way we do this is going to change a little bit, okay? So we're going to go to variables because I want this guy to keep moving, okay, forever. And so I just paused to look at the original Atari a little bit. I'm going to make him at 20. Okay, I'm going to do 20. I think smaller is better. Okay, so what we're going to do is, actually, in each of these, no, that's fine, I'll do that later. While we want this guy to, when we move him, that he keeps moving. So we need to remember his motion in a variable. So we're going to make a variable, and we're going to call it x speed. Okay, and the other one we're going to call another variable called y speed. Okay? X speed and y speed. They're both 0 when you start. And when flag is clicked, or when we start the game, let's set both of those variables to 0. Let's make sure x speed and y speed are both 0. Okay, so it starts off with no speed. And what we're going to do now, instead of when up arrow is pressed, changing the position by y, we're just going to change the speed by y. So we're going to change y speed by 1. And when down arrow is pressed, instead of changing the position, we're just going to change the speed. Change y speed by -1. Okay, and you need less in this case because -1 will be plenty fast enough. So for right arrow, we're going to change the x speed by 1, and left arrow is going to change x speed by -1. Now, this is going to seem counterproductive because now when you run the game, we can't move him anymore. We see that his speed is going crazy. You can see you can make it go positive or negative. So 1 is way too much. So let's go decimal 0, 1. Okay, negative decimal 0, 1. 0, 1. -0.01. Let's try that. Okay, even this goes crazy, way too fast. Oh man, this is going to be wild. I know these numbers. These numbers are huge. So decimal 0.001. Let's try that. Decimal 0.001. Decimal 0.001. Decimal 0.001. Okay, so I'm just looking at these numbers, and we're trying to get them so that they're reasonable. Like 80 pixels per second is already very fast. Okay, so we're just going to be tapping this. So this is going to be pretty cool. All right. And so how do we get this to actually move? Now we've got these memories, okay? This is remembering how fast we should be going in the X direction, how fast we should go in the Y, and every single frame, forever, we want to be changing our position. So what we're going to do is motion. This is where we're going to do our change our X and change Y. But by how much do we want to change it? We want that number to constantly be changing, and that's where we bring in our X speed. So this is under variables. We do our X speed, change X by X speed and Y by Y speed. Okay, now run it. So at 0, press down. Oh, this is going a lot slower now. Okay, so our numbers are way too small. Sorry about that. Let's go 0.1, see what that looks like. I think it's 0.1, 0.1, I think it's 0.1. Okay, and let's try again. All right, now we can get this guy moving pretty good. It still is a pretty slow response, so might change these values one more time. As you can see, once you get it moving, it continues moving like that forever, which is super cool. Awesome. Let's go 0.5. Like that's pretty good. I like this. Okay, we played around with it a bit. You got it working. You can see that it's always going to be moving. You can get it to stop if you want. Very good. Awesome. Now, what's next? This motion is looking pretty good, right? Just by, we can forever change the values. We can click anything we want, and it's going to constantly be moving. All right, so the next thing we want to do, up till here we've got motion done, all right, is we want to have this spaceship always following our mouse, right? That will look good. That way we can shoot in any direction that our mouse is pointing. So how do we do that? This is something we forever want to be doing again. We started at pointing in direction that, but what we can do is just drag this point towards mouse pointer in here, in this forever loop. So this is also forever going to be happening. I put it there. It doesn't really matter where you put it in the forever loop. You just know it has to constantly be happening. So I'll just put it at the bottom so it's more sequential. Let's try this now. This is wonderful, hey? Now you can tell right away the problem. So you can fly it around. You can see that this is going to work really good. And the arrow keys still control the arrow. It doesn't matter where you're pointing. But the big problem is this pointing 90 degrees away from the mouse all the time. The reason this is the costume is pointed up, but 0 is supposed to point this way. Okay, we're not going to change all of these. I don't want to turn all of these around. Okay, that would just be a big pain. Okay, so if we would turn it so it's facing this way, that would solve our problem, but that's too much of a pain. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to point towards the mouse pointer and immediately turn this way. That's the direction we want to turn, right? Clockwise, 90 degrees. So just make it do that all the time. Oh, look at that. Now it's pointing right at the mouse. Well, that was not so bad. Okay, legs behind a little bit. That's how computer games are. Okay, now we're looking good. Finally, things are looking our way. So what do we want to do next? We want to get this guy to shoot. Okay, so let's get this guy to shoot something. This is super cool. So how are we going to get him to shoot? Let's choose a sprite. Let's look for bullet. Bullet, nothing. Nothing in here. What are we going to get to shoot? Laser? They don't have one. This was my problem. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to Google and search up bullet. No, let's do laser. I like laser better than bullet. Laser, PNG, images. We're looking for something with it. We need a transparent background. That is most important. And so, and I want something that's pretty flat. It's not transparent. Maybe let's try laser bullet. Google often gives you the suggestion, transparent. This is I like this one. Blue one. Transparent, perfect. What I'm going to do is right click, save image as laser, and then it's saved. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go back here and record it. Good. Sorry, I just wasn't sure if I was still recording. I'm going to go back and we're going to add a sprite, but it's going to be upload sprite. And it'll be under my downloads. I don't know where yours will be, but you'll find it. Laser. And it imports it. Boom. Nice big laser. Right? Isn't that fantastic? That's way too big. But how do we change that? Well, let's find out. Here's what we're going to do. Costume, no, code. When flag is clicked at the beginning, let's change the size. Looks, set size to, what does 10% look like? Good size. Looks, we can go smaller, 7. It's up to you what you want. I'll try 7. And so I've got this 7. Okay, that's great. That's what flag is going to do when it's clicked. Now, how do we make lots of these bullets? Here's what we'll do. This takes a bit of work here. So we're going to, maybe we'll make this happen when space key is pressed. That's a good idea. And check how I did it last. Okay. So I forgot. We're not doing spacebar. We're doing mouse click for this version. Okay. So when we click the mouse, we want the laser to shoot. And so I actually programmed this in the rocket ship, just because I like to have most of my programming in the rocket ship. And it's a bit simpler, and I'll show you why. So what we're going to do is mouse click in here? No. Okay. Now what we will do is in this forever loop. This forever loop is getting really big, right? But that's okay. I don't know if it is that okay, but we'll do it. So forever, if and then we're going to go to mouse down. There we go. So it's under sensing. You can go to mouse down. If mouse down, then this means if the mouse is down, that means you've clicked. What do we want to do? We want to create a bullet. Okay, and how do we do that? We're going to go to control, and there's this cloning thing. And we can, when the mouse is down, create a clone of a laser. All right, and now this is pretty sweet. So the rocket ship is creating a clone of the laser. Actually, I'm going to change my mind. This isn't that helpful. So, we're going to do this because I don't like the forever thing. We're going to go over here, and we're going to create a new forever loop inside the laser, and we're going to do it there. So forever, we're going to wait, and if the mouse is down, then we're going to just create a clone of myself. Okay, so this will wait, and let's not do when flag is clicked. Change my mind again. Sorry, we're going to do when I receive start game. That's better. We want these things to be during start game. Okay, so we're going to create a clone of myself, and what does that mean to create a clone of myself? So now let's go down in control, and when I start as a clone, what do I want each of the clones to do? Well, I want the laser to start wherever the rocket ship is. And so how do we know where the rocket ship is? Uh, we don't. But variables are good communication tools. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to variables and we're going to make two more variables. One called rocket x and another variable called rocket y. Okay. And what we're going to do is I'm going to hide the x speed and y speed because we know those are working. We don't need to see them anymore. We are always going to update what these two positions are. Okay. And so forever, in our forever loop, so this is when I receive start game, what are things we're doing forever? We're forever moving around. And every time we move around, we're changing the speed, pointing, turning, right? And we are going to set our rocket X and rocket Y values to its current positions. And how do we know that? We go to motion and we'll go to X position. So we're going to set rocket X to the X position. Now, what is the X position? These are just variables that are always around that are the rockets, because we're programming the rocket's current X position, and this is the rocket's current Y position. So we're just making these more public. So these do exist, but if we go to laser and use X position, we're getting the laser's X position. And if we go to the laser's X position, it doesn't mean it's the same as the rocket's. And so if we just watch this, when we move this around, we see the rocket's position is changing. Okay, becoming more positive. And if we stop, we see that here this 211 is the same as that 211, which is, and this 0 is the same as that 0. This is great. This means these variables that we made are working. And now what we want to do is we want the laser to go to this current location. So how do we do that? We say go to. Now we go to our variables. And we say go to the rocket's X position. So X should be the same as the rocket. Y should be the same as the rocket. All right, this is awesome. Now there's one other thing that we need is we need to be in the same direction as the rocket. Now we could make another variable for that, but we know which direction the rocket's pointing. It's pointing towards the mouse pointer. So we just do the same thing. Point towards mouse pointer for the bullet, and then let's fire this bullet off. Okay? And so what we're going to do to make this bullet move is pointing in a direction. So we're just going to get it to move forever. And in which direction? In the same direction as pointing. So we're going to go to motion and we're just going to move forward. So move isn't to X or Y, but it's going to move in whatever direction it's pointing. So it's pointing towards the mouse pointer. So whatever moment we fire it off, it's going to point towards the mouse and move towards the mouse at that time forever. So let's see what this looks like. This looks great. It spins around, fires, but if we move the rocket ship, all right. So what you're seeing is, oh, if you hold down, it just blasts like crazy, right? Boy, I'm not great at this right now, but okay, a couple things that are actually huge problems. As you fire, you're feeling it. This game is slowing down. It is lagging like crazy. Okay, it's getting worse and worse. And you see that these are all congregating in the corners, right? And every single bullet that you are making is staying alive and lasting forever. Okay, now that's a big problem because it is slowing down your game because it's tracking every bullet, and so the processor is getting exhausted. You're also noticing that this one is still visible and it's just sitting there. That's also a problem. So let's fix both of those. I'm going to get rid of these. I'm going to hide these. So I'm going to go to variables and just click these check boxes. And then I'm going to go to under the laser bullets. I'm going to go to looks. And initially, this is the initial. This is the sprite. This is the original bullet. And we don't want to see that. No one cares about original. So, oops, I did the wrong one. We want to hide it. When the game is started, we're going to hide the bullet. Okay? And that means every time there's a clone, we need to show the clone. So we're going to show the clones and hide the bullets. So that'll solve the first problem. And now if we click, boom, boom, right? It's shooting, but it's shooting a ton of them and they're sticking around. So we got to get rid of them. So let's move them until, and then what we're going to do is we're always going to check we're going to move them, and if they are doing something, what should they be doing? Um, let's see. Let's see if this works. I've had trouble with this before. So sensing touching edge. This would be ideal if it would work. If the bullet is touching the edge, then what do we want to do? We probably want to delete the clone. So let's see if this works. Okay. Fire. Oh, it's working good there. Do you see how it's not congregating at the bottom anymore? And so now we can fire them in circles and they all delete. And it won't really lag anymore because they're all just getting deleted. It's handling it. Okay. So this is awesome. Fantastic. And solve the problem. So that worked great. For me, it did anyways. I've had troubles with that before. So if you do too, that's okay. And so we've got this bullet that will destroy itself if it's touching the edge. Now, there's one more thing that I prefer to do in these programs is I don't think spamming the keyboard like this is actually good gameplay. Okay, I know it's fun for us, and you can have a cheat in here to get around this, but that's up to you to build. Okay, uh, but I think a better gameplay is to have the bullets have to be like timed out a bit. Okay, and so here's a way of doing this. Um, right here. If mouse down, then we're just letting them create a clone of themselves. But we should put a timer, and there's actually timers here. And so what we're going to do is we're going to use the timer to decide if we are ready to let the user make a shot. And so what I do is if the mouse is down, I'll create a clone of myself and I'll reset the timer. And then I'm only going to let them make another shot if the timer is up to a certain thing. So I'm going to take this if, I'm going to move this, so look at that, around the mouse down. Okay, so this mouse down with the create a clone of myself and the timer is going inside this bigger if statement. Okay, and this timer doesn't fit here because we have to have a condition in this under operators. And let's say if the timer is greater than, so then it's got to be on this side. If the timer is greater than maybe 0.1, this means it'll fire off every 10th of a second. So let's see what this looks like. Okay, so this is how fast you can fire. You want to slow it down? Make sure the timer is greater than 0.5. Now this is going to be painfully slow, but you can do that, right? You can't spam the clicker, the mouse. This is how fast you can shoot. So you're in control, right? And as you build this game bigger, you can have different functions, right? You can say if they got this power up, then this number goes down to 0.1 and they can go a lot faster. If, like what I did in mine is I said if they press my special code 0.05 and all of a sudden you can really spam that keyboard, right? You can go crazy with this thing. Okay? So this is pretty, we built this game where you can fly this guy around, you can fire pretty quickly. But it's just not working. Off the screen if you're too far, then it doesn't work. Oh yeah, that's what's happening. If you get too far, then when you fire, your bullets are already touching the edge, so they're getting destroyed. I think that's fair. All okay. This is just looking great. This is fantastic. Okay, I'll show you one more thing. Let's see what time we're at here. Okay, we're under half an hour, a minute under. I think what we should show the last thing, if you want, this is bonus, do you want this spaceship to go to the other side? This will take just a bit of code. All right, that's the last thing. Your project for tomorrow is going to be build more bullets. Okay, build more bullets and make it smooth. Make sure it's running the way you want it. Okay, and so I'm going to make it so that this rocket ship can go from this side to that side. Okay, we've got this speed. This is actually quite easy to accomplish. And so what we need to do is in this forever, we're going to check some more stuff. Okay, all we got to do is check if we're in a location too close to the edge. And so where do we want it? So what I'm going to do is when do I want it to flip over? I think I think I want it to be flipped over maybe like about there. Okay, and so I'm going to look at my y position, or my x position, and it's like 240. I want to pick the number 240. Okay, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a couple ifs, two ifs. Okay, so if, and this might be a bit interesting. I'm going to use abs of, abs means absolute value, and so if the absolute value of the x position, so I'm going to go to x position here. So this means if it's 240, uh, positive or negative. So this is going to make it positive. Okay, so even if it's a negative 240, it's going to be, I'm going to make the absolute value of it, it'll be positive. And so I'm going to say if the x position is greater than 240, what do I want to happen? Okay, do I want the speed to change? No, it was moving this way. I still want it to move this way. I just want its position to be there. Okay, uh, and so what we're going to do is we just need to change it. If it's a negative, I need it to be a positive. If it's a positive, I need it to be negative. How do we do that? Well, probably multiply whatever it is we want by -1. And so we're going to take its x position. We're going to set x to its current position times -1. Okay, so if the position is greater than 240, then we're going to just flip it around. So let's see what this looks like. We're going to get it moving this way. Oh my goodness, it's that simple. Okay, you're going to see it. It's going to keep its same speed, but it's just going on the other side. So I can speed this up like crazy, and it just flies through. Okay, I can slow it down, and I continue to slow it down. But if I go the other way, it still works. Okay, once it hits 240, it just goes to the other 240, right? Because 240 here, okay, is -240 there. And so that's what this is doing, multiplying by -1. So if it is bigger than 240, it'll just go to the other 240. And so we have to do that same thing with the negative. And so I'll let you try to do that tomorrow. Okay, that's it for today. See you tomorrow.